Hello guys, how are you? I hope you all stay well. My name is Fauziah. I'm a student of religious education to be at S.Pd. I was born 30 December 2001. Yes, I'm 80 years old. I really like poetry, conspiracy theories, and film. This time, I will discuss the 1980 influenza pandemic. I hope you like it. At the beginning of the early 19th century, our world was hit by a pandemic of a disease which claimed more lives in faster time than that history of disease outbreaks any. In 1980, an influenza pandemic spread throughout the world, starting from the European continent, then spread to America, Asia, Africa, and Australia. Practically almost the entire world population at that time, which was estimated to reach 3 billion people, was affected by the pandemic, both directly infected, dead, and affected by the social and economic consequence of the pandemic. The virus is thought to be the most virulent influenza virus in human history. The virus killed more people in less than a year, more than the Black Death plague that lasted for 4 years in the 40th century, and influenza pandemic kills more people in 24-week period than the spread of AIDS for 24 years. Conservative estimates suggest that perhaps 20 to 4 million to 40 million people have died as well. Some even estimate that 100 million people have died. Some estimate that 1/3 of the world population is infected with influenza. Most research believe that the 1980 influenza pandemic began to attract people's attention because it was thought to originate from the United States in March 1980. There were reports of a number of soldiers affected by influenza at Kansas. In a short period of time, the number of patients exceeded 500 people, along with reports of symptom pneumonia. The spread of influenza to Europe is thought to coincide with the sending of U.S. troops to Europe as a form of their participation in World War I. The spread of influenza disease to Europe is considered the first wave of the pandemic. However, another report that said that H1N1 1980 influenza was first discovered in Europe after the report influenza case in one regiment of U.S. troops in France in mid-May 1980. Then speedily infect French and British troops. In the same month, this outbreak researched Spain, which at the time of the war was a neutral country, not involved in the war. The mention of the 1980 influenza pandemic as Spanish flu was caused by several things. First, because at the time of World War I, the countries participated in the war censored any news that was considered to undermine the morale of the troops. Therefore, reports of this disease are not immediately reported to the general public. Second, the neutrality of Spain in World War I caused the country not to censor the press, so that the publication of this outbreak was first carried out by the Spanish press. Since then, the outbreak has been called the Spanish flu, not the American flu or the French flu. 1980 influenza pandemic did not strike in one period. This plague attacks in several waves. The first wave occurred in early 1980. then subsided in the middle of the year. However, its spread at that time was endemic throughout Europe as a result of this influenza pandemic. In just 3 months, 2 million Europe were killed. Until the end of June, the disease has rippled struck regions outside Europe such as North Africa, China, India, the Philippines, New Zealand, and Hawaii. 3 American sailors who had just returned from Europe saw symptoms of influenza. Influenza entered through the state of Massachusetts before it finally became epidemic throughout the United. In Africa, the spread of this outbreak occurs quickly via rail and sea ships. The disease is expected to enter Africa in early September. Native Africa call this disease Persis names. In Namibia, this disease known as a kapitohanga, which means this disease is like a bullet, comes quickly. Giving a name or term for this disease shows that this disease gives a deep impression to almost every area it attacks. Influenza pandemic not only attacked dense populated area and large continent, but also hit islands in the middle of the ocean and the South Hemisphere. The islands in the Caribbean and Pacific regions have also felt the effect of influenza outbreak. The flu pandemic has also left its mark on important events in world history. The Paris Peace Treaty with success in stopping World War I. Many delegates from countries involved in the war caught the flu, and some even did. Their absence in the lobby and negotiation made the direction of the peace agreement to solve painfully. The delegation were very difficult to accept the points of agreement that would stop the war between Germany and the Allied countries. When research, Crosby noted well this influence in the chapter Flu and Paris Peace Conference. Crosby argued that all the malaise of fatigue caused by the flu affected the outcome of the peace agreement, which gave birth to the League of Nations.